Hey everyone, welcome to I'm Not a Fan Unless I Have a Podcast. I'm John Hanford, and we are now 5 episodes in. After this one, we will be we'll be 5 episodes in. This has been a lot of fun. I'm doing this intro, about 12 hours before this podcast drops. I did this, so this conversation I had was done about 3 weeks ago, and it was toward the end of my first round of calls. So it was interesting. Like, I started out a little low energy, but yeah, once I realized just how much our guest Julian really wanted to talk and geek out about Gizz, he fucking got me in. And it was just like, thank God, because one thing that happens, one thing I've learned, one of the biggest things I've learned about doing this podcast so far is that I need to be careful not to bite off more than I can chew. And it's not that there's too much work required with this. It's just a matter of balance and cadence and flow, and basically having respect for that. But me having respect for it. Since one thing that I try to do is get through, get back to everybody who's in my inbox that wants to be on the pod. And I want to get back to people in a reasonable amount of time so that it doesn't look like I'm just leaving you on red and I'm too good for you, because it's just straight up not like that. And nobody's bitched about it, which has been really cool. Like, thank you. I used to have a corporate job where people would be bitching about it. They'd just be bitching about any little thing that was going on and just blame it on my product or the product that I was a producer, community manager for, and like that. Pretty much that job is what made me get off Twitter forever. Just because the abuse that gets hurled at you can be it can give you PTSD, because that's really what this is starting to sound like. So anyway, thank you, Gizz heads, for being cool. Now that I'm saying that aloud, it's like I realize how silly it is for me to even have that worry. Like, Gizz heads are generally really fucking chill. I've yet to hear about any like really shitty Gizz heads, but like I gotta figure some of you are out there. There should never be a purity test, or I mean, should there ever be one? God forbid there shouldn't. But in any case, what am I even saying? I took an edible like 10 hours ago and it's still kicking. I don't get this. So bear with me. I've been all over the place today. It's been nuts. Getting a lot done though, but I'm normally not this ADHD. So anyway, edibles, online trolls, people are shitty. Right. So I'm sure we got a ton of shitty people in, that are Gizz heads, but, you have yet to show yourself to me, or at least show the shitty side of yourself to me. So thank you for that. Yeah, I mean, anyway, what a bananas way to start this intro, to start this episode. Yeah, man, this is what a weird time that this is. But yeah, in any case, Julian, awesome dude, really intense guy, and like I mean that in a good way. He's got so here's his deal. He has a cover band, or no, not a cover band. He is covering himself. He himself is covering Infest The Rats Nest in its entirety. He just posted Oregon Farmer in the Facebook fan page yesterday, or I guess 2 days ago now. And at the time that this episode comes out, and I mean, just doing a hell of a job as fucking covering King Gizzard songs is not easy at all, and we discussed that. But this is so cool that he's decided to take it upon himself to cover all of Infest The Rats Nest, dropping a new video every month of him playing all the instruments on each track. That's just fucking wild to me. So we talk about that. We talk about what we talk about. So, stick around and listen. I will give you guys a heads up, though. The audio quality of this episode was not spectacular. And that's something that, I struggled with. Like, when we were on the call, I guess I was just in such a daze that I didn't notice. It was so weird. Like, I wasn't stoned. I was, it was just one of those things. Like, I was getting into the swing of doing the podcast. And I just didn't notice that that Julian's audio wasn't fantastic. And like, it's still listenable. It's still tolerable enough. But like, this is really I've now found where the threshold is between what is shitty, like too shitty audio quality, and what's just okay enough, because this was a really fun conversation. Yeah, and like, Julian's got a lot of shit to share. We're going ahead and we're bearing with the audio quality anyway. This isn't a professional podcast. I'm in my fucking $500 a month apartment out in the fucking desert. Like we are not in luxurious circumstances whatsoever. But spiritually, I'd say I am quite fulfilled. So luxury is really subjective, is the point. Anyway, enough about my philosophy and all that shit. Here is Julian.
Hey, Julian, you there?
Hey, what's up? How you doing, John?
Good, man. Hey, I'm glad that I got you on the pod.
Dude, I'm glad to be here. It looked like a cool opportunity on the Facebook fan page.
Yeah, man. I checked out your Infest The Rats Nest cover videos. Like, those are fucking sick, dude. So you're playing all the tracks. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So what made you decide to start doing that?
I don't know. I just well, actually, no, I do know. Now that I think about it, I know exactly why. It was because this past Halloween, I go to school in Greensboro, North Carolina, at the University of North Carolina at Greensboro.
Uh-huh.
And there's a really diverse and dense music scene. And so probably around late September, which didn't the album come out like September?
Came out
August.
In August, yeah, mid-August.
Yeah. So it had to have been about a month or so after the album release, I realized that the opportunity to get some homies together and try and cover some of it for a Halloween show would be a really epic opportunity. And
yeah,
so I threw out some lines to some friends of mine who I thought may, first of all, be interested in the music, and second of all, may be able to actually play the music. And so it ended up being me on guitar and vocals, and I had an additional guitar player, Colin Moser, and I had a bass player named Damian Miles, and a drummer named Xavier Ware. And I think we only had 3 or 4 rehearsals, and we ended up playing. We played Planet B, Mars for the Rich, Organ Farmer. What comes after Organ Farmer?
Superbug.
Yeah, Superbug. And then we skipped the Venusians and Perihelion and went to Selfimmolate and Hell. Just because we got to the last rehearsal and it was like, okay, we need to figure out what we're going to be able to do. And I was like, I feel like the Venusians are awesome and Perihelion is awesome, but like Selfimmolate and Hell are like more awesome.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely harder hitting.
Yeah.
I mean, like my favorite, like the Venusian and Perihelion, like those. That's my favorite, suite from that album.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just the delay on Venusian 1 is just sick.
Yeah.
Like the whole thing, the fills, it's Like that song I had to listen to just like the first 30 seconds
Mm-hmm.
over and over again just to understand like, okay, wait, where exactly is this going? Like it was
You're
just
talking
such
about
a
Venusian 1 or Venusian 2?
Venusian 1, 'cause it's
Yeah,
got it's just got all those
yeah.
intricacies. Yeah, I just love that shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's fucking wild. So you learned like these 5 songs or 6 songs
Mm-hmm.
for a gig that happened probably a little less than a month after.
Yep.
Or you said it was a Halloween gig,
Yeah,
or
it was so Halloween was in like the middle of the week last year,
yeah.
and so I think the gig was November 2nd. So it would have been the weekend following.
Yeah, that's still 6 Gizz songs is a lot to learn in
Yeah.
just 2 months for the whole band.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure we rehearsed 4 times. I think we rehearsed 3 times with the drummer and 4 times, 1 time without the drummer, because I was like, okay, the drummer, he's fantastic. His name is Xavier Ware, as I mentioned before.
Yeah.
He's really the kind of person who listens to something like 1 or 2 times and then really figures out what he's doing. He's been playing since he was 2, he told me.
Yeah.
So he sees everything, or he hears everything in a grid. So it's really easy for him to pick up like polyrhythms and time changes and stuff. So like the most of the album, which stays in pretty straight time, was easy for him. But then when we're doing things like Selfimmolate, where the guitars and the drums are crossing over bar lines on top of each other, he was having no issues with that. But as guitar players, we were having issues with it. So I was like, let's have one rehearsal without the drums so that we could just focus on playing the string parts right.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's pretty wild. So like I play guitar as well, and like I've posted a few videos, doing Gizz covers to the group. The most recent one I did was Inner Cell.
Nice.
And holy shit, like that song is wild. Like that's the only song that I've taught myself off of Polygon Dwanaland.
Mm-hmm.
But at first I was saying like, okay, I could probably do like the whole, like the guitar part verbatim during the verses.
Mm-hmm.
Until like about a week of attempting to like handle all the different polyrhythms, from my vocals plus the guitar, it was just impossible. Like, so I had to do a modification and basically make the vocals and guitar chords the same time signature.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I envy people that are able to just cross over and have no issues at all with differentiating rhythms.
Yeah, no, I definitely feel you. I found, as I'm playing drums on these covers that I'm doing, but I've taken stabs at playing Polygon Dwanaland. Like, just sometimes I'll be at my house and none of my housemates are there, and I'm like, all right, fuck it, I'm gonna just play a Gizz record from top to bottom. And Polygon Dwanaland is probably the hardest one, I think, for me drum wise. But I really like playing Murder of the Universe. That one has some crazy time stuff, but I think it's a little bit more linear.
Definitely.
And not quite as brain splitting as some of the material on Polygon Dwanaland. But I saw the band most recently, September 2nd, last year at the Tabernacle in Atlanta, Georgia.
How's that?
It was freaking insane, dude. Like I've seen Slayer a couple of times, and just like I thought Slayer was gonna be the craziest show I would ever attend, but like Gizz at the Tab was next level. I mean, just like I was at the front of the front of the pit on the bar, and I had my cousin there who is 15. I'm 21.
Yeah.
So he's a little smaller than me, and so I was like, all right, you just get in front of me. I'm just gonna keep one hand on the bar, and I'll keep you from getting smushed too bad. But it was just like, it's like you can't let your guard down because like the crowd is just moving the whole time. No one's just gonna stand there and bang their heads. Which like for Orb and Stonefield, which were both fantastic, people were just like standing banging their heads. But I mean, like as soon as that like Evil Star intro came on, and like the flames came on the big screen, everyone was like, oh my god, and they didn't stop for like the whole show. And I mean, I'm gonna be honest, I think the craziest mosh was probably during Psy Boogie.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
That shit was crazy. Woo! I'm getting all worked up thinking about it.
Totally. So is that the only time that you've seen Gizz, or have you seen him a couple other times?
Yeah, that's the only time I've had the luxury.
Oh man.
I
Yeah.
didn't get into him until about a year and a half ago, and I think they came to. So I'm from North Carolina. They came to the Orange Peel in Asheville in 2017, and I was getting hip to them like right after they came through. So I missed that opportunity.
I feel you. Like I got into them in like maybe a couple weeks after Polygon Wonderland was released, and then like I find like they played Webster Hall in New York City.
Is that where you were?
That's where I used to live.
I gotcha.
And I was just like, fuck, I could have gone to that Webster Hall show. Like, it was sick. They did, they did open water. Like, they opened with open water, and like that was just, God, I mean, that has my favorite drum track of any Gizz song.
Dude, I think my favorite drum track
into a trance.
Oh yeah! Oh my god!
Yeah.
Oh dude, yes. I think my favorite drum track on any Gizz tune is probably Muddy Water.
Oh yeah, you can't go wrong.
Oh my god, their KEXP performance from 2018.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, my god, dude! I think they go from The Fourth Color into that.
It was from like I think Deserted Dunes, Welcome Weary Feet.
You're right.
Yeah, but it was just nuts because like I guess all those songs, the ones including the ones off of Gumboot, were also polymetric. So they so it just worked for the theme of that set. But goddamn, like that guitar solo. That they, like the guitar interlude. I'm watching that and I'm just like, why didn't you just put that on the record?
Yeah, for real. Oh my gosh. And like Stu starts playing and he's got the wah going.
Yeah.
Like, just like, oh.
Yeah, I mean, just everything, and like I think Joey interjected some lines in there too. Yeah. It's just like, where was this? Like it's not every day you have to. You're faced with the question of how did King Gizzard manage to fuck this up?
Yeah, right.
And
that's a great point.
But God, like those KEXP sessions, dude, and just really any. Yeah, and just like any live performance of them is just something to behold. So like what would you say? Like, was Cy Boogie like the highlight of the Atlanta show for you, or was there something else?
Okay, well, I hung on to the bar all the way until the last two songs. So if you saw them on the last tour, what I noticed they would do for most of their shows is they'd play like 2 or 3 Rats Nest songs at the top, and then another 2 or 3 at the very end. Or I think in 1 or 2 cases, they would just play the whole record at the beginning and then do other stuff at the end. But for the Atlanta show, they started with Venusian 2. And so Mickey and Eric came on stage and started doing that tom-tom thing.
Yep.
And everyone started losing their minds. And then they hit the last note, and Stu goes straight into the rhythm part for Mars for the Rich. And then, I mean, I was holding on to the bar just because I wanted to be in the front. I wanted to get a good view of everything. But I think they went into. I saw them pick up the guitars tuned down to C sharp.
Yeah.
Towards the end of the set, and I was like, "Oh, it's about to get crazy again. I have to go join the mosh. I can't miss out on this opportunity." And they played Planet B, and then Selfimmolate, if I'm not mistaken, to end the set. And like that was probably the highlight. I was just losing my shit, with a bunch of other people also losing their shit.
Yeah, man. The mosh pits get pretty insane.
Yeah.
Like the first show I ever went to, like I could barely keep myself upright because like I was I had one person in front of me against the rail, and because like she was short, and like basically I was just sort of like bracing my back just so that she wouldn't get crushed and I wouldn't get crushed. And
sometimes
look,
you got to do it.
We didn't even and we didn't even know each other at the time. It was just like it's just one of those things you do
Yeah,
just out of human decency.
definitely.
But like God, it would like when you're right up there in front, like it can be really
Oh
distracting
yeah,
when people are just like pulling at you to
yeah,
like it's brutal.
yeah, definitely.
But I also know that like if I was going to be seeing these guys at Red Rocks, that's exactly where I would have to be.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Oh yeah.
but did you were you planning on going to any of the marathon shows?
No, that was just a little too expensive, a little too far to get to for
Yeah.
me. I have a ticket for their DC show, which has got rescheduled to like October 13th or something like that.
Uh-huh.
Uh, it was going to be May 1st, which is like a couple days from now, which would have
Yeah.
been great because it would have been I think reading day for me. So like I would have had nothing at school, no class, and I wouldn't have any exams for a few days, so I could like go a day early and like get to the venue early and like hang out with the guys, which is what I did when I saw them at the Tabernacle. I actually I remember I was driving up at like 2 p.m. and I saw Stu walking down the street from like 4 blocks away, walking back towards the venue because I noticed his mane blowing in the wind, and I was
Yeah.
like, oh, that can be no one else. And so I drove up and I rolled down the window and I was like, I put out the devil horns. I was like, Stu, and he was just like, and he gave me the devil horns back. And then so I pulled into the parking lot, which at the Tabernacle is pretty small. So I'm very glad that I decided to go early.
Yeah, you
Pulled
got
in
it.
the parking lot and I paid the fee. It was like $15 to park for until midnight, and then after or until probably like 5 or 6 p.m. And then after a certain time, it's free parking in the city, anyways.
Oh, nice.
So I figured, I mean, I'm definitely going to be here until like 2 a.m. So I might as well just go ahead and pay the maximum and not get a ticket. That would be terrible. But
Yeah.
I had a copy of Murder of the Universe on vinyl and a copy of Rat's Nest on CD. And so I got them out of the car, and I went and greeted him, and we talked for a few minutes, got him to sign my stuff and take a picture. And
Oh, that's
and
sick.
he was just with these two other dudes, and we just got to talking about guitars and stuff. And apparently these guys had been hitting him up previously, and they had this custom built 8-string, perfectly intonated, like with crazy squiggly frets guitar, and it was like microtonal as well. And so they
An eight string
yeah,
guitar? Holy
it
shit.
was pretty insane. And they
Yeah, so that's like what like the bottom two strings are like really deep, like basically bass.
yeah.
Oh shit, yeah. I guess I have seen those. Yeah, it's just not every day that you do.
And I mean, this one was like a custom built. Like they made this. They have some guitar brand. I forgot the name of it, but it had this crazy horn thing, like connecting the body to the headstock. So there was like the
Uh-huh.
neck, and then there was like this overarching horn type of thing. I mean, it was so insane. But I mean, it's just me and Stu crouched behind these guys' trunk in like the shade of their trunk in the Atlanta summer sun, and these two guys are just like looking down at us, and like me and Stu are just passing this guitar back and forth, and I'm just like, whoa, dude, this is
That's so
crazy.
cool. Dude, that's
And
badass.
like they were showing him this chart with numbers and degrees and stuff, and talking about how it's perfectly intonated, and like I mean, I have like a good understanding of guitar and like functionality and like music theory as well, but like this stuff was just going over my head. And so I'm sitting there like kind of playing Doom City, but not trying to play too loud. And they're just talking about like these numbers that I have no idea what they mean, but I was like, fuck it, I'm living in this right now. This is awesome.
Totally,
It
dude.
was a good moment.
I mean that's
Yeah.
surreal. Did you meet any of the other
Yeah,
guys?
yeah. I stuck around after the show. I actually during the day when I got to hang out with Stu for a little bit, I was taking this class last, or I guess 2 semesters ago now, at University of North Carolina at Greensboro, called
Yep.
Entrepreneurship in the Arts. And one of the things we were supposed to do was interview someone in our field of arts who was having success with their ventures. And so I'm a recording artist and a multi-instrumentalist, and I have a little label that I use to release my own material, and I've done a few releases for some friends, called Yacht Club Records. I think it's just kind of a silly, funny name. It's like evokes a highbrow mentality, but we don't take ourselves too seriously. So I talked to Stu, and I was like, "Hey man, can I interview Eric about flightless stuff?" And Stu thought that was the funniest shit, that I wanted to interview Eric. And so he talked to Eric about it, and then I saw Eric after the show. This is probably like 12:31 a.m. at this point, and he said that he would let me interview him, but he had to go talk to the rest of the 100 or so people gathered around the buses first. And I unfortunately did not get to, because he came back around and was like, "Hey man, I'm just like so tired." And I was like, "It's all good, I can't blame you or be mad about that." But also, like, I was gonna be like, "Let's go stand somewhere not around a bunch of people, because I'm about to ask you like money questions, and I don't want you to have to talk about that in front of a bunch of people if you feel like that's not or shouldn't be super public information." Didn't want to disrespect his privacy.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's so tough just in that kind of scene to basically do it like a real legit interview. And I'm assuming you saw Chunky Shrapnel, right?
Yeah. I saw it the first weekend.
I thought it was interesting how they had that scene where they're sort of talking about just like, we need to stop doing press, just no press. We get nothing out of it.
I mean, like, they're big enough now that they can stop doing press and it won't affect their ticket sales at all.
No, totally. And like, also, I also get where they're coming from, because like I would see some of these interviews and it's like, all right, some of this shit's cute, but like it gets tired. And it's like, how many times do you need Stu MacKenzie to say eggs?
Yeah, right.
Like it's like that was cute once and it's played out.
Definitely. I mean, like, I was gonna ask him, like, Eric. I was gonna ask Eric business questions and stuff about like his trajectory as a business person, and like probably not the average interview questions.
Exactly.
Like, whenever I meet a significant artist, that's what I try to do. Not necessarily interview them, but just like talk to them about shit they don't get talked to about all the time.
Dude, that's the way to do it. Like I actually, so this is well before King Gizzard came into my life, but like my favorite band used to be the Meat Puppets.
Nice.
They're this like they've been around since the early '80s, and Nirvana covered some of their songs.
Right.
So I met them after a show once in 2013, and like I somehow got backstage. Like I befriended one of the people from the opening band, so it's like, yeah, you can meet the guys, and like I just started talking about baseball with fucking Kurt Kirkwood of the Meat Puppets, like one of my favorite songwriters, guitarists of all time. And
dude, I'm sure he was
we're just
into
bullshit.
that.
Dude, he totally was.
Great,
and
man.
like he couldn't get like I found that if you talk about music with like musicians that are on the road a lot, like they couldn't get away from you fast enough. You gotta just go up there, just with literally anything else and just be into it, and they'll probably meet you halfway.
I like to talk about gear and ask like really specific questions about gear, because I find that, just like you said, talking about musical stuff is kind of like whatever, but once you say like a really specific piece of gear or something, or you talk about like circuits or something, then they're like, oh, this kid knows what they're talking about, and then they'll have that conversation, which is always fun. I mean, I met Mac DeMarco in 2017 for the first time, and got to hang out with him for like 2 hours before the show. I mean, that's my thing, is going to the venue at like 2:00 just to be like, if they're hanging out, I'm trying to hang out, And so, I mean, we just got to talking about electric and acoustic guitars and like recording consoles and stuff, and it was a very interesting discussion. But like, I try not to be talking about the shit that they probably always get talked about. Whatever's popular about them, avoid those topics.
Right. Yeah, definitely. I mean, especially like if you know the answer you're gonna get, why ask the question?
exactly.
It's well, yeah, something else I don't think I remembered to ask you, but how did you discover King Gizz?
I think my trying to think. I believe.
You don't remember the time and place exactly? What the fuck?
Well, I'm trying to think of the very first thing. I'm thinking
Yeah.
the first thing was probably hearing of their name and just being like, "Oh, this band exists," and didn't really check them out. But then my bandmate, I have a band, Sweet Dream, based here in North Carolina. But my bandmate in the band, keyboard and guitar player James McLaughlin, hipped me to "I'm in Your Mind" Fuzz, and I was just like, "Oh, this is sick!" Like heavy garage psych, like the first few songs just like go and don't stop, and it doesn't get boring. And then he was like, "Okay, now you got to check out their KEXP live set from 2017." And I was like, the one where they play the Murder of the Universe set.
Oh, yeah, dude, that's one of my favorites. That
I shit my pants, figuratively speaking.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I might have been crowning, but like when I saw that, it was
next level.
I mean, God, it was so next level because like I think they opened with Digital Black, or they opened with Welcome to an Altered Future, and then Digital Black, and that was sick. And I was just like, okay, this isn't really a complex like chord progression or anything. It's just fucking hits.
Yeah. I mean,
and they're into it, and everybody's into it, and it was just like, okay, these are guys that don't take shit too seriously.
Yeah,
this is their appeal. This is fun.
Even like the first measure of Welcome to an Altered Future, just like, dun, 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 dun. It's just like, oh, this is evil.
Yeah.
And the mix is so good. I know Stu did it, but like, woo, they sound so good.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Man. I mean, I think it also helps that they have their own sound guy.
Oh yeah,
to run everything.
Oh yeah.
Which I didn't know until Chunky Shrapnel.
Yeah,
like I didn't know that until Chunky Shrapnel came out. It's just like they have their own fucking sound guy. That's perfect.
We're gonna get this beer to that guy. Beer to that guy.
Yeah.
That's a fun scene.
But yeah, so I don't know if it's all on the sound guy or if there are other people involved, but like one thing that I noticed when I saw them in LA was that like the mic on Ambrose and his harmonica but for both harmonica and vocals were just like way too low.
I agree.
Like it took them it took like halfway through Muddy Water to fix it. And I'm just like, how do you not have that down right away?
Seriously.
Like you did a sound check. You guys tour all the time. You should know where the toggles go and where where like the levels.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you look scene, well, I guess you can't look anymore, but there's that scene in Chunky where Eric's standing behind the soundboard and someone yells something and he's like, "I didn't touch shit." But then I guess the sound guy came up and he hit a button and then all the faders moved automatically. So there's definitely like presets and stuff that you can set from your sound check. So like even if Stonefield or Orb are using the same vocal mics, which I don't even know if they were, but like
no, I think they changed them out.
Yeah. So it's like that's even more of a reason for it not to sound bad if you're using completely different sets of mics. But just like I don't get it. They took Eric's bass drum privileges away and they took Ambi's decibel level privileges away.
Yeah, there's like you've had enough. Go have fun with Murlocs. But let's see. We're gonna wrap this up pretty soon. But I did want to ask you, what are you most looking forward to about King Gizzard in the future?
I mean, I can always say something and then it will change when they put the next album out. You know what I'm saying? Because like we can never guess what it's going to be. I mean, they've mentioned. I checked out some of their Reddit came out, and they talked about doing some more microtonal stuff. And I also noticed that the cover of Flying Microtonal Banana says Volume 1 on it. So I would reckon Banana Volume 2 is in the works at some point. So I'm definitely looking forward to that because that record hits super hard. I really like I think every song is really banging, but like it goes from some like really like krautrock Rattlesnake to being like kind of funky with like nuclear fusion and stuff, and like and like Muddy Water.
And Melting is
Melting out of the transition, and then there's like the trading drum solos at the beginning, just like, oh, that's so sweet. And so I guess more microtonal stuff, and definitely I'm looking for more like super heavy psych like Murder of the Universe stuff, just because like that was via my entrance with the KEXP performance after that album came out. I really listened to that one a lot first before I started to dig into the rest of their discography, and just like I remember don't do drugs, kids, but I remember like doing acid and listening to Murder of the Universe, and also watching those music videos that they have for the sections. Oh my god, just like tripping balls and just having an amazing time.
Here's the deal. Just don't take any drugs that are actually bad for your body. Acid, like psychedelics are actually pretty good. Lots of anti-inflammatories. And shit that, also cured my depression and somewhat my anxiety. So, I feel that, don't hate on psychedelics. Yeah, man, dude, this has been a lot of fun talking with you. And, I look forward to, staying in touch on the fan page and everything, Instagram, whatnot. But, thanks for coming on.
It's been a pleasure. And, for anyone listening, you can check out my covers of Infest The Rats Nest songs on my Instagram TV. That's at Julian CP Music, JULIAN CPMUSIC. At the time of recording, it's the end of April, and so far I have Planet B and Mars for the Rich released. And in May, I've got Organ Farmer coming out, and little sneak preview. I played it like 10 or 15 BPM faster than they did, just because I was like, fuck it, let me just like go a step above, and from here on out I'll be doing, I think, one video per month, which would mean that we'll get to hell in December.
That seems fitting. But anyway, dude, thanks so much for coming on, and thanks for plugging your stuff.
Of course, man. Thank you, John.
Everybody check him out. All right,
man. Peace out.